Hello and welcome to another Fun Fact Fest that is Curator with the camera, and this week we're going to be looking at Boxhill. So Boxhill is one of William Stroudley's famous Terrier class locomotives. It is a classic tank engine, and they were very tenacious locomotives designed to operate intensive suburban services. William Stroudley was the locomotive superintendent of the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway, and he was brought in to address a motley collection of locomotives that had been built by his predecessors. What he did was he reorganised the locomotive works at Brighton, and then he started churning out standard classes of locomotive to actually reliably operate the London, Brighton South Coast Railway services. The A1 class emerged from Brighton Works in 1872, and Boxhill was built in 1880, and it had a very long and eventful life until withdrawal in 1946. The design was intended to be a lightweight tank locomotive, as the tank on the side, water tank on the side there shows, and it was built for the lightly laid South London line linking London Victoria and London Bridge. It was cheaply laid with pine sleepers, short cast iron rails and gravel ballast. It was also a very difficult route to operate. Although it was around 8 miles long, there were 10 railway stations along this route that these locomotives had to stop at and start from to maintain the passenger service. They were also designed to run services under the Thames through Mark Brunel's Thames Tunnel, linking New Cross with the Great Eastern Line. They were also used on various other suburban services, such as Victoria down to Croydon, London Bridge to Croydon, and on to Sutton as well. And 50 of the class were actually built over a number of years. So let's have a look at Boxhill and see some of the items of interest. So being a tank locomotive, Boxhill is ideal for short distance journeys and is quite economical. It's got 6 driving wheels, making it an 060, as you can see here. And that means that it's got complete adhesion to move off from a standing start at stations. So Boxhill has a number of unusual features for a locomotive. One includes this pipe here. There's one on the other side, the left-hand side. This is part of the condensing gear. The driver controlled a valve inside the blast pipe, which admitted exhaust steam into the left-hand side condensing pipe, which took the steam into the water tank, where it's condensed into water and warmed the feed water prior to it being pumped into the boiler. Any remaining uncondensed steam went through fed through into the right-hand tank, through this pipe and back up the blast pipe and into the atmosphere. Because of the condensing process, the water in the tank got hot, and as a result the water tank is actually double skinned as a form of insulation. There is essentially an inner tank and then an outer shell. You can see up there the water filler cap. You can see the dome on top of the boiler, which contains the regulator. It also has a rather nice copper chimney top above the smoke box. Here you can see a nice view of Stroudley's improved engine green livery, and as you can see there is some green present in it. Here's the works plate, built at Brighton Works in 1880. It also has the shed allocation written on the front, so in this case it's an abbreviation of Brighton. These are the 3-foot, 11.5-inch diameter wheels, although the actual diameter varied depending on the tyre thickness. You can also see here, moving on a bit, the balance weights, which sort of counteract the reciprocating masses inside the valve gear between the frames. And here you can kind of see that they've been painted to make it look as though the spokes are all around the wheels. So quite a nice little touch there. You can see here the Westinghouse air brake, air pump, which powered the air brakes, and some of the pipework associated with it. Unlike many other railway companies, the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway has adopted the Westinghouse air brake system. This was an alternative to the cheaper vacuum brake system that had been adopted by various other railway companies. This here is part of the brake linkages, which goes all along the base of the driving wheels here. And as you can see the brake shoes, very important to be able to stop on an intensive suburban service. Another item of interest are these slotted frames, which help make the locomotive lighter, which is the key aim of the game on a lightly laid road such as the South London line between Victoria and London Bridge. Here you can see part of the pump mechanism for the injectors, which injects the water into the boiler, and here's the outlet pipe from the water tank. Looking in between the frames, these are the slide bars, and this here is the water feed pipe into the clack valve, which admits the water into the boiler. You can also see a lot of the valve gear between the frames. This is the wheel splasher, which prevents water from spraying up all over the place, and in front of it it's combined with a sandbox. That's the sandbox filler there, and it allows sand to drop onto the rails just in front of the front driving wheel here, as it gives greater grip to the rails, particularly when it's greasy. At the moment, the sand pipe is actually removed as a result of the locomotive having been moved around the site a bit. Moving round to the front, we have two oil filler pots, which use wicking to distribute the oil, and this is the smoke box door with the dart mechanism for securing it, and then you can get a nice view of the chimney up there and the hand grab rails as well. And also you've got the lamp irons, which route discs or at night oil lamps are put on to tell you what service the train was hauling. Having explored the exterior of Boxhill, let us now have a look on the footplate. So here we are in the palatial cab of Boxhill, and there's a number of controls for me to show you today. So here we have the reversing lever, which is different to a screw reverser, and you can see the notches for the cut-off settings. Very much like the gear stick in your car. So this control here, this is the regulator which admits steam to the cylinders. Here you have two water gauges to tell you how much water you've got in the boiler. You don't want to expose the crown of the firebox here, otherwise the consequences could be dire. Down here you can see the ratchet mechanism for the firehole door, which is back-breakingly low. You can see down there, that's the shovel plate and the flap that controls airflow into the firebox. The fireman had a lovely back-breaking job of having to shovel into that little letterbox sized firehole door from this almost equally letterbox size and low coal bunker door. And incidentally, the locomotive carried half a ton of coal and 500 gallons of water. And here you have the two rods that control the dampers, which control the help to control the airflow into the fire. Now we move on to the rather important business of stopping the locomotive. So this is the brake pressure gauge, which tells you the state of the train brake. And here is the all-important valve that the driver uses to apply the brakes, and which would have seen a lot of use on intensive suburban routes like the South London line. Here you have the boiler pressure gauge, which is running at an unusually low pressure, shall we say, at 0 pounds per square inch. These valves here, they control the condensing system, and this rather simple device here controls the whistle. The whistle's a highly important piece of equipment in that it gives an audible warning of the presence of the locomotive to people on the trackside. Now, the London and Brighton South Coast Railway operated a one driver, one locomotive policy. William Stroudley, the designer of the locomotive, kind of felt that if one driver was in charge of one locomotive, that locomotive would be looked after and it would instill pride in the job. But Thomas Hatcher is based down in Brighton, and as this locomotive was based in Brighton Works around 1898, chances are Thomas Hatcher drove the locomotives around the works as the works pilot. So Boxhill is one of those everyday, work-a-day locomotives, day in, day out, operated commuter services. And essentially it is the locomotive, or one of the locomotives, that built South London in the late 19th century. And it's so important because it connected people with their jobs in central London. It allowed people to move out of the centre of the city, which is overcrowded, into healthier suburban areas. The reason I like it is that it's a plucky little engine and is very much deserving of the nickname Terrier. Thank you for watching Curator with a Camera. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a like and do subscribe for more videos.